The United States of America has a rich background of historical events leading us to the superpower nation we live in today. This historical background was enriched by daily events from every corner of our great nation. This video will portray the 100-year history of Tigerton, Wisconsin. Hello, I'm your host Jim Daniels. Join me on a trip to middle rural America. We're going to Tigerton, located in central Wisconsin. Tigerton has a population of 815. It's surrounded by smaller farms and wooded rolling hills and valleys. Many small spring-fed creeks and streams drain the area, and they eventually flow into the south branch of the Embarrass River, which flows through the village. Employment includes a large lumber company, modern machine shops, an excellent school system, retirement facilities, 3 churches, a full-service bank, a medical and dental clinic, a child care center, and many other food and service businesses. The Village of Tigerton was born with the coming of the Milwaukee and Lakeshore Railroad in 1880. Hayes is the 19th president, and Thomas Edison has just invented the phonograph and the first workable incandescent lamp, the light bulb. And in 1879, Wisconsin land speculators and lumbermen are interested in the Town of Fairbanks, sections 8, 9, 16, and 17, on which the Village of Tigerton is now situated. In 1879, the Town of Fairbanks assessment roll listed this land as owners unknown, or as state land held on contract. The assessed value of these lands ranged from $35 to $60 per 40-acre parcel. Several legends have suggested how Tigerton got its name. The first legend involved the spotting of a tiger in the area, or maybe the profusion of tiger lilies growing in the area. And the most plausible legend was the noise of the water flowing over the rocky stream bed that sounded like the roar of a tiger. An early resident of the town of Grant, Chas Menzel, gave a written account of the railroad right-of-way being cleared of trees and brush in 1878 and 1879. The railroad crews lived in a building located near the Embarrass River between the present-day Tigerton High School and Riverside Apartments. A railroad house near the depot was the first permanent structure in this area. The railroad house was operated by Mrs. Matthias Schumacher. The village was platted by Easterners and land speculators interested in timber. Frederick Rhinelander and Thomas Newbold were among the first to sell lots in the newly platted village of Tigerton. Their names appear in most of the first land transactions dated 1880 and 1881. The community grew rapidly and houses constructed for the growing population. Jobs from logging, sawmilling, and veneering activities attracted the early settlers. Later, farmers, blacksmith shops, saloons, hotels, boarding houses, and general stores appeared, offering food, clothing, supplies, and services to the loggers and mill workers. Some of the better-known lumbering and logging operations included the Tigerton Lumber Company, Wall Spalding Lumber Company, Torrey Cedar Company, Livingston and Newbold Lumber Company, and the Stern Shingle Mill. Herman Swanke founded the Tigerton Lumber Company, and the company is currently operated by his descendants, employing 80 people. Early transportation was mainly by horse and wagon or sleigh in the winter months. Some farmers had oxen. Strong religious roots began to take hold in the area. Tigerton held its first Catholic Mass service on November 22, 1880, in the dining room of the boarding house operated by Mr. and Mrs. Matthias Schumacher. The first Catholic church, St. Joseph, was built in 1884 on Lot 7, Block 20 of Gundy Bingham Addition. Later, the name St. Joseph was changed to St. Anthony. The first Lutheran service was held in 1881. St. John Lutheran Church was organized in 1882, and Tigerton's first Lutheran church was built in 1887. The community was preparing to become a permanent entity. The year is 1890. Benjamin Harrison is the 23rd U.S. President. Montana, Washington, North Dakota, and South Dakota are newly inaugurated states. The Tigerton Lumber Company built their first mill in 1891. A cemetery was established, and the first school was built between the present-day Tigerton Clinic and First National Bank. Tigerton was prepared to protect itself from fire and provide security for the residents. Doctors and dentists traveled to the community about 1 day a week. An application for incorporation as a village was filed along with a notice of incorporation on July 18, 1895. The first election was held January 11, 1896. The first officers were President John Lehman, Trustees August Crumpf, Albert Klug, John McDivitt, A.E.D. Dolph, Chaz Raymer, Ben Raymer. August Needham was the clerk and justice of the peace. Herman Needham was the marshal. Ted Rupenthal was the treasurer and constable. Fred Zelmer was the assessor. The village of Tigerton was incorporated January 14, 1896. By this time, Tigerton was a thriving community of about 500 people. There were about 30 business establishments, including a pharmacy and printing office. A bank was established in 1899. A school was built on lots 4 and 5 of Block 38 in the year 1893. Later, a larger school was built on the site of the present elementary school playground. And on the church scene, Zion Evangelical Lutheran Church was organized in 1891, with the church and parsonage located on lots 11 and 12 of Block 34. Tigerton continued to grow at the turn of the century. McKinley is the 25th president. Hawaii became a U.S. territory, and Tigerton had its first homecoming celebration. These celebrations always included a parade with floats that would be the envy of today's parades. In 1905, the village of Tigerton built a town hall. The first school built on the site of the present elementary school playground burned in 1903. It was replaced with a modern 3-storied building. Tigerton High School was built in 1919. It consisted of only the old section of the present high school building complex. Many religious changes were also taking place. A new St. Anthony Church was built in 1906 on the northwest corner of Swanky and Chestnut Streets. The original St. John Lutheran Church was converted into a parochial school in 1903, and a new church was built down the street. The Methodist Episcopal Society built a church in 1901 on the northeast corner of Swanky and Chestnut Streets, right across the road from St. Anthony Church. At this time, there were 4 churches in Tigerton. This was short-lived, however, because the Methodist congregation dissolved several years later, and their church was sold to the St. Anthony congregation in 1925. St. Anthony used this building as a parish hall. In 1900, permanent medical services began to take hold when Dr. Stubenvall became one of the first to establish a practice in Tigerton. Dr. Stubenvall was succeeded by Dr. Rathert and Dr. Adam Gates. Dr. Adam Gates established a full-time practice a few years later. As Tigerton matured, the village acquired new conveniences. The first telephone appeared in 1903. It was an extension from the Marion and Northern Telephone Company. Electrical service appeared in Tigerton in 1912 when the Tigerton Lumber Company installed an Alice Chalmers generator powered by a steam engine. The generator was located in the boiler room of the lumber company. The generator furnished electricity to the Tigerton Lumber Company Mill, Swanky Family Homes, and the Badger Lumber Company. Later, electrical service extended throughout the village. From the Roaring '20s to the 1930s, the United States found itself in transition from prosperity to the Depression. Progressive financial woes in America found us removing President Herbert Hoover and electing President Franklin Delano Roosevelt to office in 1930. The Depression hit rural America very hard, eliminating jobs and reducing many investments to about 20% of their original value. Tigerton weathered the Great Depression of the 1930s and has continued to be a thriving community. By the 1930s, Tigerton's population was about 800. Despite the Great Depression, Tigerton struggled to survive as a village and evolve with the changing times. Full-time dental service became available when Dr. P.J. Foley opened his office in the First National Bank building in 1929. A public water utility was constructed in 1937. The railroad was the main link with the outside world. During its heyday, the Chicago and Northwestern Railroad stopped at Tigerton several times per day with passengers and freight trains. Interstate Highway 45 vastly improved in 1937, providing better transportation. With the arrival of improved auto and truck travel, train service dwindled. By the 1950s, the railroad no longer pulled passenger cars through Tigerton. In August of 1981, the last trains passed through Tigerton and the tracks were abandoned and removed. The Tigerton Lumber Company is still operated by the descendants of H.R. Swanke and on the same site since building a mill in 1891. The other woodworking plants ceased operations in the early 1900s. A new mill was built in 1910, and the present-day mill was built in 1967. The Tigerton Electric Company was sold to Central Wisconsin Electric Co-op in 1971. In 1979, the Badger Lumber Company, better known as the Company Store, was sold. On the school front, in 1983, the three-storied elementary school was raised to make room for a new elementary school. Tigerton High School was built in 1919 and is still in use today. The school was expanded to include grades 7 through 12 in 1964, and 1995 brought the latest expansion, including a new gym and other remodeling. The religious sectors were also going through change. St. Anthony Church, built in 1906, was replaced in 1972 with a building that included facilities for dining and religious education. The old parish hall, located across the street, was sold to the Tigerton Historical Society in 1983 to be used as a museum. St. John Parochial School closed in 1968 and now is a child care center. St. John Lutheran Church, built in 1903, constructed a new entrance in 1971 and a fellowship hall in 1991. The old Zion Evangelical Lutheran Church was converted into storage space. A new structure was built in 1964 near the junction of County Trunk Highway M and U.S. Highway 45. This structure includes a church proper, dining hall, and related facilities. A new parsonage was built in 1969. A hospital was established in 1950 in the H.R. Swanke Mansion. It closed in 1975 due to inability to get a doctor to practice in Tigerton and to meet state and federal regulations. The hospital was converted to a medical clinic and an addition constructed in 1977 for a dental clinic. The public water utility was constructed in 1937 and the sewer disposal system was installed in 1961. Tigerton did not suffer from major winds, floods, or other natural disasters. However, there have been several large fires destroying entire buildings. The Badger Lumber Company store burned in 1901. It was rebuilt in similar design in about 12 weeks' time. A small store that stood on the site of the bowling alley burned before the turn of the century. A new building at that site was used as a general store and later converted into a bowling alley and a barber shop. This building was burned in 1978 and was replaced by a new bowling alley. Heinz Hardware Store burned in 1937. It was located between the Crossroads and the Van Newland Beauty Shop. The Red Owl Food Store that stood on the site of Ron's Foodland burned in 1957. Anchor's Hotel, site of the Market Square Mini Mall, burned during World War I, and the original graded school burned in 1903. Athletics was always a major activity in Tigerton, especially baseball. Tigerton has entertained a baseball city team every year since the turn of the century. Tigerton school athletics, especially basketball and softball, has always been popular. Today, volleyball is also very popular. Entertainment has changed through the years. Dances were popular in the olden days with bands coming from Appleton and Oshkosh. Choral groups have existed from time to time. Tigerton even had a city band. The present Farmer's Home Tavern, formerly known as Stearns Hall, was the first hall in Tigerton. Stearns Hall was used for movies, basketball games, dances, plays, and other activities. Raymer's Hall, which stood where St. John's Parsonage is situated, was built later and was used for the same activities as Stearns Hall. The original First National Bank was rebuilt right across the road on the corner of Ash and Cedar Streets in the year 1921. The First National Bank is still at this location, providing a full range of financial services. In recent years, the homecoming has been incorporated with the Lumberjack Days celebration. Lumberjack Days has free corn, carnival rides, live music, bingo, volleyball, and horseshoe tournaments, good food, games, lumberjack contests, and of course, a large parade. Through the years, people have operated various businesses in Tigerton. Some lasted for many years, some only a few years. At one time, Tigerton supported several grocery stores, dry goods stores, shoe stores, gas stations, farm supply stores, hardware stores, and saloons. Today, the taverns are still here, but there's only one grocery store, dry goods store, gas station, farmer supply store, and building supply store left. In addition, there are 2 small tool companies and 1 torque converter repair shop. A low-power television station is a unique addition to provide local information and nostalgic programming to the area. There are many other cottage businesses and smaller shops catering to the needs of the people. These smaller shops include auto repair, body shop, floral shop, barber shop, beauty shops, a clothing store, woodworking, machinery repair shop, video store, restaurants, craft stores, and a furniture store. Tigerton was selected as a Main Street community in 1994, and this project is revitalizing the entire community. Many public events are scheduled every year besides Lumberjack Days. These events include the incredible mountain bike race, log drive and camp soup contest, firefighter street dance, Rummage-A-Rama days, and Christmas celebrations. In addition, special dinners are sponsored by various churches and civic groups. Tigerton has a senior citizen center located in the community center. The community center also houses an up-to-date public library. Tigerton has an area ambulance service with modern equipment and certified EMTs. The Tigerton Fire Department, which was established before the village was incorporated, resided in the Tigerton Village Hall. Later, the fire department moved to the community center. The Tigerton Fire Department has a crew of well-trained volunteers and modern up-to-date equipment and vehicles. Plans include development of 580 acres into a recreational park, building a swimming pool, and expanding the historical museum complex. Also, there are plans for improving the environment of Tigerton, including the public areas, the south branch of the Embarrass River, and Tiger Creek, which flow through the village. Yes, Tigerton is a small community with the drive and determination to take on a rapidly changing future. Many small communities have faded away over the years, but Tigerton continues to move forward. The village is to be congratulated on its centennial, and may it continue to be successful as it enters the next 100 years.